Welcome to Lost Culture, your one-stop destination for everything pop culture. My name's Aston. Today we're going to do a review and a recap for Luke Cage Episode 1, Season 1. So this episode, we don't really get to see too much. We basically get to pick up, well, I don't know really we pick up. They don't really tell us what we pick up, because we know we've seen Luke Cage in the Jessica Jones series, but in this series, they don't really tell us how much time has passed since Jessica Jones. This is only the first episode, so I'm pretty sure we'll find out how much time actually passed from here until then, or if this is like early or anything. But we do know, they don't really tell us who's working downtown. They just tell us, hey, you should be a crime fighter like those guys downtown. They don't tell us who it actually is. They just let us know that at least either Daredevil or Jessica Jones is already working downtown with everything that's going on. So besides that, we get to see that Luke Cage is basically working inside a barbershop. He does a little side jobs. He's getting paid on the table because he is wanted. He's a felon. I mean, he's not a felon, but he's wanted. We don't know what he's wanted for, but we're assuming it's because he broke out of prison, broke out of jail from his incident. But we see he's working. He had all these little jobs. He's working under the job. He's working with Pops. Him and Pops scenes really close. Obviously, Pops does know about him, because we see when he lifts up the washer. He's it's cool. Like, there's no issue with it. He's like, oh, I love when you do stuff like that. He even tells him, like, look, like I say, he tells him he should be a superhero. Now we get to see Luke Cage is still ladies' man. We see the little man's mom is trying to basically throw at him, like, we should go get coffee. And he doesn't really go for it. He tells her he doesn't really like coffee. He plays it off, and that was it. And we see little, like, the other young boy of the trio. He's like 3 basketball players. He's like, oh, why women like that want a broke dude like you, whatever. And it's sad, but it is like the culture of areas like that, urban areas. They like, most dudes feel like they need to have money or be like flashy or in a drug game just to be able to get a nice woman, a beautiful woman, things of that nature. But we see Luke Cage just by working hard, sweeping up here, not really doing the glory jobs, just having a job and being secure in himself, like knowing like his bills are being paid, which was cool for him. That she actually just liked that. Now, I have a sneaky suspicion that this is kind of before Jessica Jones. I feel like by the end of this episode we'll be caught up to Jessica Jones, or we'll be past Jessica Jones, but I have a feeling this might be before Jessica Jones. But besides that, welcome to Lost Culture, your one-stop destination for everything pop culture. My name's Aston. Today we're going to do a review and a recap for Luke Cage Season 1, Episode 1. Now in this episode we get to see Luke Cage, we don't really know how much time has passed in Jessica Jones, or if this is before Jessica Jones. I have a sneaking like, I don't know, like feeling that this might take place before Jessica Jones, like the stories of Jessica Jones. I don't know what the sneaky suspicion is. It just feels like this might be before then, because in Jessica Jones you see he owned the bar. He was kind of like stable. He was doing his thing. Nothing too serious was going on. He was actually living out in the open. But in this series, like in his own series, we find out he's on the run. He's trying to stay low key. He doesn't even go by his real name at work. We see when he's working, he's getting paid under the table, so he doesn't really have too much say so. And with the bar, he ran it, he owned it and everything. So yeah, but now we see he's basically trying to find a way to make ends meet. We see he's still a ladies' man, as we know from Jessica Jones. We don't get to know too much about his backstory, about where he came from. We get flashes of it in this first episode. We see Shades is actually a part of his backstory, but we don't really know the full aspects of it or where his powers came from. Like I said, he speaks about it, how he was stuck in a box. It's kind of like a Weapon X type scenario, more like a budget version of Weapon X. And I know a lot of people think in the storylines that he might have been like kind of involved with the Weapon X things, but looking at it, he actually does. Like looking at the little you know anything about Luke Cage's history, we know he actually has like little similar story to like the Weapon X type of program. But we see he's talking about he feel like an exotic fish being put in a little bowl, whatever, his powers and everything. We know that he doesn't really go by Power Man, but Pops actually calls him Power Man, like when they're down in the basement talking, when he tells him like, look, you're just gonna be a superhero like those other guys downtown. We don't really know who it is, he just mentions those other guys downtown. Now that could be Elektra, that could be Daredevil, that could be Punisher, that could be Elektra. I don't think Punisher would probably be considered a hero right now after what we just seen in Daredevil 2. So yeah, I don't know, because we do know Jessica Jones used to be a superhero, but she like kind of retired from that before her actual series started. So he might be referring to her. We just don't know. There's not enough information from this first episode. But going through this episode, we get to see Cottonmouth. Cottonmouth basically a big bar, big club owner. His cousin is like, I think it was the mayor of the city of Harlem. And we just see that she's kind of dirty. Obviously he's dirty. But she did a lot of her grant money and state money she sent to him so they could do this deal for illegal Hammer Industries weapons. And I love to see that the Hammer Industry Easter egg was dropped. I'd love to see that because now we see they're actually pulling in the larger Marvel universe into these series. They're still not mentioning the superheroes by name. We get to hear them call the Green Guy, did they call somebody an alien? I can't remember if they called somebody an alien or not. We haven't really had any aliens, so I don't know who they were calling an alien. Yeah, maybe he was talking about, I have no idea who he was talking about, but he was talking about Thor. We see he brought up Thor. He said he called him the blind guy with the hair, with the hammer. He said the green guy. I forgot who else he called out, and he called it raw footage. So I don't know if they're considering the Marvel movies like raw footage. Like for us, they're like movies, but for them, these are just raw footage. That'd be cool if that's how they're gonna do it. Like for each fight, like, oh, I got this raw footage from such and such. I think he even brings up Captain America, but besides that, like we see he called a lot of them out by references, not actual names. I'm confused why they don't call them by the names due to, I know for a fact that like the American people know about Captain America. Maybe they don't know about the rest of their guys' names, but they could at least call like Captain Rogers, like Captain America, or even Captain Rogers. It's like he's a known like public figure, so I don't see why they wouldn't call him by his name. And they didn't even mention Inhumans, because it's weird they didn't mention Inhumans, because we know the Inhuman outbreak is going on. I'm pretty sure Inhumans are a known factor right now. We don't really know how they're actually going to pull out their universe for these guys, but I'm digressing. I'm just going on to other Marvel things. But let's pull it back in for this episode. Like I said, I'm glad to see that they're bringing in bigger Marvel for this. We've heard rumors that the Netflix characters aren't actually off the table. Well, the TV universe isn't even off the table for the big universe to appear in Avengers Infinity Wars. So we know these guys have a chance, we just don't know who. Now, besides that, we see Cottonmouth. He's running this club. Luke Cage actually works in this club. Luke Cage is technically a dishwasher, but when I forgot his name, something Davis called, when Davis called off, he actually not promoted, but just brought up front to do a bartending, and that's where he meets like the detective. We don't really know she's a detective off point. She's a beautiful woman. I love to see, I don't want to say, I love to see that they're sticking with like the African American cast. Facially, I recognize a lot of these people in this series. I don't know everybody's name by heart, but like I recognize a lot of faces, a lot of like small roles. Even Luke Cage, I don't really remember his name off heart, but I remember him like in I'm kind of a big gamer, so I remember him like in the Halo movie where he's playing the other Spartan who's going after Master Chief. He's even in Halo 5. He's one of the main characters. So I don't really remember everybody by their name, but I remember them by small roles that they've had in other shows and everything. But I'm glad to see all these characters coming in. I've loved the feel of New York, even the feel of Cottonmouth. I love his office, how he has that poster of Biggie Smalls with the crown on. It's pretty like, it's very like, that a picture is very synonymous with New York hip hop. That picture, like a lot of people call Biggie the king of New York, the king of rap. It's very synonymous with that culture. I don't think he would have been in a Harlem guy's office just because there's so many other people they could have used for Harlem references. They probably didn't want to use any drug dealers or anything. But Biggie Smalls would be the next thing. I understand that. So, but as legends, I feel like it would have been a different person other than Biggie Smalls in a Harlem guy's office. Like more of a, I don't want to say it, but that's really it with like the drug dealers they have from Harlem who are like just like local legends and everything. I feel like that's who they would have had more of rather than a Biggie Smalls pictures. But I understood for the New York reference. And my favorite scene would be when Cottonmouth kind of like, he didn't really break the fourth wall, but he broke the fourth wall. That was an amazing scene. Just like when he's talking about the Biggie Smalls poster. I feel like that might have been the only reason they used this poster, just so that line would work, that scene would work so amazingly. And it was just that when he stepped back, we see the picture of Biggie Smalls with the crown on it. But then when he as he walks forward, closer to the camera, we see the field, like the depth of field, are kind of matching up so that the crown actually looks like it's on Cottonmouth. And we find out Cottonmouth don't really like to go by that name. He rather go by his government. And I understand why. When you're trying to run a legitimate business, you don't want to be called by your street name, even if they don't really know who you are by your street name. Like, I mean, as far as like local, like government, like the cops and everything, they're looking for Cottonmouth. You don't want them to connect Cottonmouth and this business together. So I understood all of that. But like I said, I really like this show. I'm really feeling the vibe of it. It feels true to New York, to the Harlem feel. I feel like they're going more for a New York feel than like a true Harlem feel. But I like it. Now, this might also be like the first show I see they're freely they're freely using. I didn't think Marvel would do it, but we see Marvel actually freely using. They went for a more true like dialect, like dialogue. The dialogue is more true to like an African American of that, like those neighborhoods. And we see him saying like nigga a couple times, multiple times actually. And it's not like, it feels natural. It sounds natural. I didn't feel like it was out of place because sometimes in these movies when they try to go for a more like street vibe, they kind of use like over the top. Like what else? Like Deadshot in Suicide Squad when he said like oh, these suckers done messed up, or he said something of that nature. I'm like, dang, it would have been a lot better if he just said nigga. Like it would have flew a lot better. It felt more true to his character, even though maybe they'll never say it in the comic books. But the way that word came out, it basically felt like they were just replacing nigga with fools or these suckers. I forget what he said, but it would have felt more natural. He would just said these niggas, like honestly. And that's just my personal opinion. A lot of people might think differently, but that's just how I personally felt. Now in this show, like I said, they had no problem really saying it. They used like multiple times in this episode, and it feels natural. It doesn't feel forced or anything when these characters are using it. And we also get to see that they brought in the strip club culture into this show. We see when he first hit the lake, when he actually do it, when the three guys do it, we see after he shoots his best friend, which is pretty cold. We see his friend actually set up the inside job. Well, she was probably dead either way. They were gonna find out he was part of this three-way job, his inside job. And he says that once he even shoots him, like, dang, they're not able to know. But I personally feel like they probably should have took the weapons also. Yes, it would have been harder for them to move the weapons, but we see they didn't get too far with the cash either, because when he tried to kill his best friend, he didn't really do it. And we see Chico actually gets really shook from this, because we know Chico's a pretty good dude. He works in the barbershop. I believe he cuts hair. He's there. Pops even says that like he had to trick these guys into befriending him. He couldn't just ask them. He couldn't ask to help them because they're so stubborn growing up in the neighborhood they're from, not to accept help and to do things on their own. So he had to let them play video games and stuff, watch the big games and stuff inside his barbershop, and ask them to like start paying them to sweep around here, paying them to do errands for him and things. And then they began to trust him just because they were making money from them as they were young bucks and everything. So when they grew up, they still, like we see, they still hung out in the barbershop and everything. One of them actually worked for him, and it was cool. And they kind of pulled the Spider-Man on Luke Cage, and we see when Chico bumps into Luke Cage, he's kind of like, he drops the gun. Luke Cage tries to talk to him about it, like, oh, blah, 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 but Chico isn't really having it. He tells him, like, look, my dad walked out when I was a kid. You're not my dad, so I'm not really about to listen to you. Which I feel like is a true response that a lot of people a lot of children will have in that area. Now, when we see Pops is talking to Luke Cage about it later on in the episode, we see Luke Cage kind of reflecting on it, like, dang, I did mess up. This is on me. I should have stopped him. I could have did more. But there's not really more Luke Cage could have did. We know he's kind of like Power Man. He could have stopped him, like, physically, but that was not really what was going to happen. Was going to happen with Chico or without Chico. Now, in this episode, we see Chico is still on the run. Chico never actually gets caught. We know one of the boys actually get killed by Davis. Davis actually gets caught by Cottonmouth, and boy, when Cottonmouth catches up to him, it's crazy. It's like I'll say that for later what Cottonmouth was doing, but besides, it was just so much for this first episode. Like I said, it was a really great episode. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. It felt natural to the characters. Even like just for the scenery, everything felt natural. Now, back to the detective. We see she tells Luke Cage that she's like an auditor, and that's after they end up having sex. She's getting called in the middle of the night. I thought it was mad suspicious that an auditor is being called like 3 o'clock in the morning to go do something. Like, no, whose books are you checking at 3 o'clock in the morning? There's no type of accounting emergency if you're being called at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I don't think he really bought it. Well, obviously he didn't buy it because when he went to the window, he see she was getting picked up by the black car. And initially when Luke Cage met her, he thought she was more of like a groupie for Cottonmouth. But he games her. We see he's really smooth with the woman. I really enjoy seeing how smooth he is with the ladies. And he didn't do too much. Like we see he kind of nagged her a couple times, but at the end he ended up pulling her back in. We see he's smooth with making the Cosmos and everything. He actually had the other waitress who was afraid to go upstairs with Cottonmouth. Ace of Spades is a very popular drink. Like I said, they're actually paying attention to hip hop culture, African American culture, what's actually popular at the moment, like from dressing to alcohol to the way we speak and everything. It was like really true to like the culture. I don't know what to say. Like this is like, it's like, I don't know, another great show that's doing like is Atlanta. I don't know if you guys watch Atlanta, but Atlanta, like another show that actually like is true just to the culture of these characters, just to like African Americans. It doesn't seem just like a gimmick. It doesn't seem gimmicky or anything. It just feels natural. I can't stress that enough. This show feels really natural to the scenario. Now we see Cottonmouth is actually getting checked in on by Shades. He feels like he's being, we don't really know who his boss is. I know a lot of people are gonna go right to being Kingpin. I don't think Kingpin is running this. It's someone else. We don't know who it is yet. But I'm pretty sure we'll find out by the end of the episode, by the end of the season. But maybe around mid-season, we'll find out who the true baddie is. But as of right now, we know it's Cottonmouth. Now with Cottonmouth, we see he's pretty cold-hearted. He's pretty bad guy. We see even with his cousin, we see he's having her followed by his goons. They're always there. She doesn't even feel safe with him, really. Like, and it's crazy because she seems so clean and cut. But we know, obviously, she has these family ties because she really needs this money for things. Like, she needed money, so when you need money, you kind of go to, like, a desperate situation. Which is, I'm not really, like, frying her for that, but, hey, that wasn't the right thing to do, but she did it. Now, with those same goons that's been following his cousin, we see they go to Luke Cage's landlord. They kind of hounding her for money, like, look, we need them, hey, blah blah blah. We pay us for protection, like right now, basically, or pay for it into the city. Now he's the owner's trying to tell her, like, I own this building, my parents own this building. Why would we need to pay for a building we've owned for like 2 generations now? They're not really having it. We see Luke Cage walks in. He kind of like, we see that epic scene where we see in the trailer when oh boy punches Luke Cage, his wrist actually breaks. We see he goes to work. We see he actually stops a bullet in his hand. We know he does feel pain because when the gun goes off in his hand, we hear him say ow. He even tells us earlier in the episode that he still gets headaches when he takes shots to the head and things of that nature. So he's not as super strong, but his powers seem a lot more stable than they were in Jessica Jones. That was my biggest issue with Jessica Jones. His powers were never like stable. One episode he'll be Superman, next episode he'll be a wet piece of paper. It just wasn't stable. So now in this episode, we see his powers at a kind of stable level. We see he can take a punch, no issue. But when he catches the bullet, it doesn't hurt him, but it hurts him. Like, not enough to like really damage him, but it was enough. Like, it was a threshold for him like to jump a little bit. Now we see once he does that, his landlord stops hounding him for money because he's been kind of ducking and dodging because he owes the rent. And we find out his second job isn't really paying him because he's under the table. So they basically kind of dicks him around like, look, show up, we'll pay you when we feel like paying you. Now Pops offers him a real full-time job so that he can pay him real money, but Luke Cage doesn't want to be on the books. He doesn't want to be traceable because he is on the run. Now, there's so many things going on with Luke Cage. Like, it's too much to fit in for one episode. I'm glad these are hour-long episodes, so we get as much information as we can. This is his first season, so we don't get to know too much. But like, if normally on the first episode we would find out a little origin. When not with Luke Cage, we have found, like I said, we've seen glimpses of it. We seen when he was working as a dishwasher, when Shades came in, he didn't really recognize him. So, but we see Luke Cage recognizes Shades, and he's in the cell with Luke Cage right before he gets jumped and put into the chamber, like the little hyperbolic time chamber, whatever it is. And it's cool. Another thing we don't know is what happened to Luke Cage's girlfriend. She's a beautiful woman. Don't really recognize her from anything, but she is very beautiful. She reminds me of the girl he was sleeping with from Jessica Jones. I'm pretty sure it's not the same girl, but she reminds me of her. She reminds me of her. But besides that, we don't really know too much about her. Obviously, something bad happened to her. She kind of looked out for Luke Cage when Luke Cage was suffering. Maybe one of the support groups. She kind of gave him a book like, "Look, you need to make friends to help you get out of your darkness." Now, that's really all we have for this episode. I'm going to give this this is a really great season premiere, series premiere, everything wrapped into one. Like I said, my favorite part for this episode was when Cottonmouth was in that room and he was walking, he had the picture and he started kind of breaking the fourth wall, but not truly breaking the fourth wall. That is one of my ups for this episode. Just the dialect, how it feels so natural for the scenery and everything. That's another one. And my power move. Would it be power? Yeah, my Power Man move of the week will actually go to Cottonmouth. I loved it when he was beating old boy around. When he just smacked him like, look, I would never hit a woman with an open hand, even though he was hitting a dude. He was like, I never hit a woman with an open hand. So when he spits him, like, yeah, now I can hit you like a man. Obviously he kills him, but yeah, yeah, like he kills him because he's gonna get information from him. So that's like my Power Man move of the week. I missed this one thing, like that death also brought Luke Cage onto the police radar. Now they're gonna question him, but I don't see too much is gonna come from it. I don't think he's gonna be figured out as a not a convict, not a felon, as someone on the run. I don't know why it's escaped me right now, but yeah. So thank you guys for tuning in. Remember, you can follow us on Instagram at Lost_Culture. Follow us on Twitter at Lost_CultTV. Or you can follow me on Instagram at Saint_Aston. So as always, stay lost. Down lower, we see her armor has changed. The best season finales that we actually had for Power. This is by far one of the best episodes.